Hi, welcome. We're going to be starting a whole new series, and I wanted to give you an overview of what to expect. So in segment 1, we are going to be talking about why discernment is important. So that will be the overview for you. So in segment 2, we will be discussing and going over the definition for discernment, what is the spiritual gift of discernment, and an overview of apologetics, just a little breakdown for you. Third, we're going to be talking about what's the difference between wisdom and discernment. Also talking about being a watchman on the wall and a good Berean in these days. Lastly, on segment 4, I will be talking and really covering some pretty good Bible verses for you that will cover the warnings and where the Bible talks about discernment and how important it is to be aware of pitfalls that are out there in these days. So I hope this makes everything much more clear to you. So right after this is going to be segment 1. Welcome to the Light of Deception. Today we're going to start a new series under discernment. What does it mean to have discernment? What does it mean to be a part of a discernment ministry these days? And what does it mean when discernment goes wrong? And when we're called to, a lot of people are called to be apologetics, and how does that work out, the ins and outs? Does it have anything to do with wisdom? Does it have anything to do with being a watchman on the wall? And when does it sound more hypercritical and nitpicky and a little bit mean-spirited to go in the wrong direction with discernment? Discernment is a loving warning, and then that person has a chance to make their own decisions. It's part of free will, right? It's a choice to listen to somebody that's a watchman on the wall, to listen to somebody that has a warning and a red flag that's trying to help you not fall into deception and be taken off course. So that is so important to make sure that that gift is still out there and still being well received by the members of the church body. And it's part of one of the many gifts that the Holy Spirit gives out. Usually, for me, I can talk about myself for sure, it came with my own deception story. So I was saved from many kinds of deception, and I was in deception for quite some time, at least 12 years in an emergent church, and before that in false doctrines, definitely in looking at Catholicism, Buddhism, being in early years as a Jehovah's Witness, and just walking the ins and outs of going through the avenues to find truth, and then getting lost in visualization practices within the Christian church, getting into automatic writing and those kind of things. So when you're saved from a great deal of deception and you're pulled out of that, and you're able to look back and think, how did I arrive at this place, and how God can, what Satan used, right, for evil, that God can pull you out of that situation and use it for good. So then you become a watchman on the wall, and that should be always coming from a place of love. So what I'm going to do is start off with kind of giving you a little highlights in segment 1, that is today, segment 1, and we'll be running these for about 10 or 15 minutes, and we should be able to get through the whole deception talk in back-to-back segments, maybe 3 or 4 to total it out. So I'm going to start off with giving you what a definition of discernment means, and what's the difference between a discernment and wisdom, what's the difference between a discernment and apologetics, and those kind of things. So we'll look at the ins and outs of that. So Christian discernment, I'm just going to give you a brief on Christian discernment so you can kind of get the highlights here of what to look for as if somebody's giving you a warning. Are they going to be somebody that's just really trying to throw you under the bus and say that they know more than you do? I mean, that's happening too out there. So that's why the discernment ministries, or a person with discernment, has a bad rap. Might be even called, they're having a critical spirit, a Jezebel spirit. They could be saying they're holier than thou. They got a chip on their block. They think that they have a deeper relationship with the Lord, and all these different criticisms that come to somebody that's speaking forth truth and warning in these days is, you're not my Holy Spirit. I mean, I've heard so many different things And there are some that are gratefully grateful and so thankful that you stepped out in faith to say, be careful, you're going in this direction, and this is what it could lead to. Therefore, it's that one person that has eyes to see and ears to hear that will take those warnings and put them into their life and be super grateful. Can you imagine if you saw somebody walking towards a cliff and literally falling off that cliff, and you're not there to have that warning sign saying there's a cliff ahead, and you don't see it and you're running right into it? Be careful. So that is the call to be somebody that is in discernment is definitely a gift that comes with a lot of heartache and sometimes lonely places. And then eventually maybe that person that has first did not receive it will come back later with that thanks, or who knows, maybe somebody will come along and water it along the road, but we are called to do what God calls us to do. First, before that, I go into anything more on the discernment and break that down for you, I want to read something to you that I thought was well done. This is from Lighthouse Trials. They picked this up by somebody named Carla in Canada. And so she writes this: Ode to the watchers on the wall. They are the watchers. Tirelessly they stand on the wall and watch, sometimes blowing their horn to warn of danger and creeping dragons. The people shake their heads and just walk away. Don't believe anything you see. Foolish watchers, they say, even though the watcher can see what they can't. Foolishly, the people naively open the gates and welcome the dragon in. Now, proudly they walk by, flaunting their green guest. See, this is a good guest, they sneer, oblivious to the puff of smoke wafting behind them. The watchers now know that it's only because of their swords that the dragon don't devour the whole village at once. Watchers are never well liked. And when she says never well liked, I would say that seems that way, definitely does. But there's some that do like them, so that's that remnant. They don't apply for this job, but the king grants such a position only to those who he chooses. They must accept the honor. It's not that they are worthy, but they have been rescued from the mouth of the fierce dragon. So they know the stench and recognize the sound of the sounds of the dragon. And now they watch for them because they owe their lives to the king and his family. So there you go. It should become from such a humbling place that we don't, anybody in discernment knows that they're not perfect. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to go about things maybe not the right way. And they're trying their very best to set forth warnings in these days. And can they get wrong, go off on a wrong course? Anybody could, right? So, but this is your gift. So run your race well. And as God has given you a gift, you stay steadfast in those gifts. So that's kind of the opening for today. So look for the next one that's going to be actually breaking down. Like I said, I'm going to wait until the next one to define what is Christian discernment, what is a spiritual gift of discernment, and then we're going to be talking about the difference between wisdom and discernment, and that'll be in our next episode. Thank you for listening. See you next time. Remember to press like and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.